this is the type of lifestyle they have at the Votech. And actually getting to go into their building was very interesting because I'd never been there. And seeing all the warehouses and all the different equipment they have was really cool. And it was something that a lot of students at Huntington High would never believe that was there. So it's great getting able to see that and seeing what also not only Huntington High School, but Calhoun County has to offer for students.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm very passionate about career technical education. You obviously are getting a wonderful academic education, but not one size doesn't fit all. And I think this was just a wonderful way to highlight the intersection of two wonderful programs. And I just hope you all share that, because I think a lot of people do misunderstand what career technical education is and how important it is to our society and the value of it, and sometimes it doesn't get the respect it deserves. So thank you all for that, and what a great project.
Thank you. Obviously, the purpose of this project was to make the trail more open and accessible for Huntington High School students, but do you see this having benefits for the broader community of Huntington as well?
Yes, I actually know that a lot of people, like just in the general community, come up to the high school, and I see a lot of them just like running the track, because that's all, like they really know how to run. And as someone who has done both track and cross country within middle school, I think after my only year of track, which I didn't really enjoy, I had some of the cross country athletes come up to me during like one of the sports banquets. They were like, "You should run cross country. It's so much more exciting to run on trails rather than the same circle over and over again." And I think that, I mean, everybody knows that there's a track at Huntington High School, but not everyone knows that there are these beautiful trails as well to run. And I think that was especially important to draw attention, because more community members are coming up to the high school, and I think they need to see a little bit more of a push that there are much more beautiful places to run up on the hill.
I just want to piggyback on that one, because I know that after the floods, River Park's trails just got virtually destroyed. So I'm asking you, remind me again, how long are these trails?
They're about a mile and a half, I'd say.
Is it a loop?
Yeah, it's a big old loop that starts from where you come up where the arch is, and it goes around behind the softball field, the baseball field, and then ends up on the east side of the football field, right on where the big H is, on the big hill.
All right.
I wondered, in your research, I've read over the last several years in Japan, they are, doctors are prescribing walks in the forests and woods where they're away, and this thing. Was that part of your research too?
I think, I didn't think too much about that. The only thing I can really like kind of correlate with it is that I did a lot of research on like solitary confinement, and how people who are stuck in rooms for long periods of time like kind of need that push to get outdoors and have a little bit of a change of scenery, and how beneficial that is for those people. And I think, like when you brought that up, that's very, very important for people who are like maybe stuck in hospitals, and they may just need a little bit of a stroll or a walk in the park, because that's so mentally and physically beneficial for them.
Yeah, this is a wonderful project and presentation, and it looks like, I mean, your result is fantastic. But what was the biggest obstacle that you faced? Like, surely there was some shenanigans along the way, and how did you overcome that?
Well, our biggest probably was just communication with a lot of different people. We had to talk to a lot of different people, and we had a tough time hearing back from people and not getting some of the results we wanted. So we ended up having to just keep persisting and going to the same people, and we finally got the result we wanted. So I think, I mean, we didn't really have an issue with, it was mainly fundraising was the main thing, was getting people to hear back from you, but you had to keep just at it and be like, hey, are you going to respond, or hey, can you do this? But luckily we were able to get what we needed for fundraising, and luckily we were able to overcome that by just persistently keeping data. So.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
All right, I would like to present our next member. Connor Salisbury is a dedicated member and captain of the Huntington High School Robotics Club and maintains very high honors. His project centers around improving and revitalizing Huntington High School's robotics team and inspiring younger students to take part in robotics and STEM. In the coming fall, Connor will attend Marshall University to fill the growing demand for STEM occupations.
I'm very interested in robotics and STEM. And this project is a two-part project, and this project is a two-part project aimed at updating the room, B158 Robotics Club, and also to expand interest in the STEM field in general. This project involved the reorganization of the Robotics Club in order to accommodate downstream equipment and to better meet the needs of the Robotics Club and the STEM students who participate in the Huntington High School engineering course. And before we get too far ahead, what exactly is robotics? So, well, it's a program run by Mr. Cisco, where a team of students work together to create a robot that can complete specific tasks in a match where we compete against other robots from different schools. For this year's competition, match was known as Tipping Point, where our objective was to create a robot that can effectively move towers onto platforms as well as defend them from enemy players. So stage one of this project is reorganization of the Robotics Club, where I lead an effort to improve the quality of the robotics lab and the room. And when I first joined the Robotics Club my freshman year, I noticed that there was room for improvement to be made. In fact, at the time, the single largest workstation that we could work on the robot from was a set of two half-circle tables situated at the end of computer rows, and others such as Mr. Cisco, a collection of robotics club members, and also students from his course also recognized this, and we realized that we needed to start developing plans. And although this is supposed to be a senior project, I suppose this would be better stated as a high school passion project, because this started during my freshman unit, and as just me helping around the room and doing what I can around the robotics room. And as I passed through the years, it evolved into this full-fledged senior project. And during those years, I worked with Cisco and the robotics members and also the engineering students to completely redesign the layout of the furniture systems and more. Whenever there was time to and an opportunity to create a room that would be better for us, and also future students might find themselves learning the robotics lab doing day classes or competing in the robotics club after school. And my sophomore year would be the year where I make the most significant developments in refurbishing the lab, and collections of events such as the new TVs that were placed around the school, and also crucial decisions such as made by previous members, such as adding new space-efficient computer tables would make it possible for me to take a leading role in the future of the robotics club. And countless hours were dedicated to the refurbishment of the robotics lab. Generally, most of the work would be done between me and Mr. Cisco whenever there was time to do so. However, this project also has had people from the robotics club and from Mr. Cisco's classes to help contribute to the classroom. And ultimately, I'd say that the results of the robotics lab refurbishment have been more than what I could have hoped for. And today I'd say the robotics room is unrecognizable from how it was in my freshman year. And just about everything that wasn't bolted down has been moved somewhere else, and I would say the robotics lab is one of the nicest classrooms I've ever been in. And I'd say out of all the classes I have been in, I can confidently say that room B158 would top that list. And I'd say to talk about some of the changes that we made. I'd say the largest change would be in the robotics lab would be the 3 new space-efficient computer tables that were introduced that would allow us to condense 3 large rows of computer desks that took up over half the classroom, and into these 3 hexagon-shaped tables, which only took about maybe even just a fourth of the classroom. And this entire project might not even have been possible without these tables, because of how important they were to the room design of the room. I'd say the next biggest contribution was the was the use of all the excess desks that we had from all the, because we no longer needed them for that. And because of all the massive amounts of space that were left over because of these new computer tables, it means that we're able to add that we had the ability to add as many tables as we could to the remaining space of the room in order to transform what was originally just two half-circle workstations into what is now a total of 12 tables that are now divided into 3 sections. And I'd say we're now able to accommodate like 26 people on these workstations, opposed to how we originally could only hold 6 at these half tables. And I'd say in addition to these major changes such as I've just mentioned, also numerous small improvements, such as improved recycling bins, which encouraged recycling from students and made it easier for Mr. Cisco to manage, and new add-ons to a 3D printer table, which made it practical to have all 3D printers operating at once. And we also brought in some filing cabinets that we got from around the school to help organize some of the files that we had. And one more example would include creating some space in our storage room for students to store their tennis rackets for the tennis program that Mr. Cisco also ran, which means that they can ensure that their tennis rackets were kept safely behind locked doors as opposed to being left up in the open, vulnerable to damage. And I'd say that overall the outcome of these improvements has made working in the robotics lab more fluid and less frustrating. And we also had one of the most successful robotics club seasons in years. And in numerous ways, this was our best robotics club season since the foundation of our club. And I'd say that the refurbishment efforts had definitely had an influence on this. And to talk about some other benefits that a strong robotics club can have, I'd say that some of these common benefits include improving STEM skills, as constructing a robot usually heavily corresponds to science, technology, STEM, and mathematics. And I'd say a strong robotics program also can encourage creative thinking, as generally you need to think of creative solutions to solve these creative problems that we have to introduce to us by robotics. And this robotics program also can generate strong teamwork skills within everyone, as it requires a lot of cooperation to put together a robot. And some of the longer term benefits of a strong robotics program can include like helping students find their passion for robotics, or potentially help direct students to find a potential career in the STEM field. And it also can help expand the general interest in STEM and the STEM programs for the future. And these graphs above demonstrate like how over the past few years the demand for STEM occupations has only increased. And this pie chart next to it also demonstrates how a large portion of these the STEM industry, contributes to robotics, and which improvements in the robotics lab can truly help fill the increasing need for these STEM employees. And this I now introduced stage 2, which is reintroducing a school showcase trip. And during the events of COVID, events such as Family Fun Night, and what we would have games and demonstrations on display, and a yearly trip to an elementary or middle school where we would bring more games and more demonstrations to the creating interest in robotics, and have been cancelled due to regulations. However, we have been preparing to start up these events once again. We plan to hold these events in the near future, and if it's not this school year, we'll be having it next school year. And I'd say, thinking back, I don't think I could see myself doing any other thing for my senior project, and I'd say that I couldn't have turned out better from how it is right now. And I'd like to thank Mr. Cisco, the robotics team, and anyone that has helped with this project to make the room how it is today. And thank you for your attention. Are there any questions?
You mentioned in your presentation that you consider this more than a senior passion project because you're 4 years in high school. And I understand you're going to come to Marshall for study STEM occupations. My question, what initially piqued your interest in STEM at high school? What got you involved in this?
I'd say I've always been interested in STEM, but this project in particular, I just noticed that, I think it really just came down to me noticing that there can be things that can be improved upon. I just have like an interest in trying to see if we can make things more better and less frustrating to use, because I know that everyone can appreciate the clean room. And I certainly did appreciate working in a nicer classroom, those two before.
Is the Project Lead the Way program still in place there? That's a STEM program that Mr. Cisco, I think, initially was involved in. It may be changed to something else now, or is it just STEM? I mean, what the classes you take from him, what exactly?
For me, I don't take any of the day classes. I mostly just stick to the robotics club, which happens after school. And Mr. Cisco has been running that for a few years, and I'd say recently has become more, like more attention has been put into it. And I believe it actually was like an official position made for someone to actually run it, opposed to just being like volunteer from Mr. Cisco. But that's basically my affiliation with this.
He does still have the Project Lead the Way.
And I
program.
understand the same thing Mr. Cisco did. It says that's been put in place, I don't know if it's now still at the middle school level, or that program offers middle school Project Lead the Way. But it is, the program, at least years ago, was a wonderful introduction and exposure to STEM education. And, you know, just as you have demonstrated how much you have learned from that, and just how many opportunities it can give you into that area of study as you progress in your educational career. And I'm glad to see it still in existence, and I appreciate your observation. It needs more attention and advertising, if you will, but I think you're doing a great job, and you did a nice renovation of that space.
How many fields, like VEX fields, did you manage to fit into that room, and were you planning to add any more?
The fields, usually we have the ability to take a field out, but usually we don't keep it out because we only take it out during like competition, like whenever like doing like high points in the competition, and we haven't. So we just we didn't have it out when I took these pictures, but we do have the ability to rearrange some of the tables to fit a field if we need to have a field up for testing. But we don't have a permanent one out though.
Question about, this is an awesome project and presentation. My question again is about an obstacle that you faced, or what would you say you learned the most from doing this project?
I'm not too sure about what might be the greatest obstacle. I know there are problems like researching a lot about what we can actually do and what we can based on like fire marshal regulations, because that's a big thing. But I'd say a lot of waiting, I guess, is something, because that's always frustrating, trying to wait for things to work out, because this project did span over over the entire school year, and you think that something may like down to the basics. A lot of this is just cleaning room, and you think that happened a lot faster, but it did span over multiple like years, which is I guess that's one of the big things.
Of the day. Kyleigh is an academically gifted student who has great intellectual and creative ability. She is an adept learner. She has scored very highly on her AP test, including a 5 on AP Lang. That's something, isn't it? It is. Sorry. She is ranked 5th in the senior class in GPA and has been a part of many great programs inside and outside of her high school, such as National Honor Society, Science Olympiad, Art Honorary, Spanish Honorary, Science Honorary, Mu Alpha Theta, and 4-H team leaders. She has also been invited to do research at Green Bay Conservatory. In the fall, Kyleigh will attend Marshall University as a prestigious Yeager Scholar. She will be majoring in biology. Fiona is a dancer and a teacher at Nancy School of Dance, a member of National Honor Honor Society, a member of Art Honorary, Nu Alpha Theta, and Vice President of the West Virginia Junior Classical League. In the fall, she plans to study elementary education and focus on psychology, Latin, and English at Marshall University Honors College.